There's nothing like good country western. I thought those guys did a great job. So thank you again, Lone Prairie, for an hour and really 15 minutes of entertainment here. Let's go ahead and try to get started. We've got a good bit to go over. You don't get many 10-year anniversaries, so we got a lot to do tonight, but we've got a lot of special people here. And I'm going to do my best to get started, and our Chancellor Ken Hance and his lovely wife is here, and I'm going to start here, and he's going to take over here in a few minutes. But anyway, I wanted to thank the committee that helped put this together. I mean, it's been a lot of work. We had our press conference this morning, and I was kind of worried, but it was raining so hard, and I didn't think anybody'd come, but it was the biggest turnout we ever had. All the TV stations were there, and so on. And the AJ came a half hour early and stayed a half hour later. So I figured with it raining, maybe they didn't have anything else to do. They just wanted to be with us. But it was real special, and Congressman Nagelbauer's office was there to provide us with a beautiful proclamation, as well as Senator Duncan's office. And it's real exciting when you get a joint Senate House resolution signed by the governor acknowledging accomplishment. I talked to Provost Marcy today, and I asked him, I said, Provost, have you ever heard something like this occur? And he said, not in academic circles. So it was good to have him there today. But our 10-year anniversary committee with Jennifer Humphreys, Rachel McNew, Stephanie White, Tammy Hendricks, Ken Dixon, Phil Smith, Joy Yost, and John Eisenhart, thank you. Because all of the events that we're going to be celebrating the next few days have been coordinated by this special group. And I thank you very much. I also appreciate some of the other people at TIEHH. The press conference went well this morning, and it's such a nice event here. For those of you that arrived a little late, on the left side of the room are a beautiful display of our timelines of accomplishments over the last decade. And they're all framed, and they will be hung in the halls of TIEHH to remember our past and also to help us shape our future. We're also in the process of developing a 10-year anniversary book that will commemorate this event and hopefully set the stage for even a better decade to come. I have no doubt that can occur under the leadership of our new Chancellor, Ken Hance. But at this point, I thank Tammy Leatherwood, Lori Gibler, Tammy James, Ryan Bounds, Kimberly Pruitt, Christy Scott, Corrine Truluk, and Michael Burke for all you've done to make this a success. The response that we've had for just wanting to come be with us, we've developed a lot of friends. And I guess when you're a friend, you get friends. And it's been amazing to me, the people that have supported the Institute and want to be with us in spite of the weather and in spite of everything else. So I'm going to do my best to recognize as many people as I can and give the Chancellor a chance to get his supper here. But I'd like to also just appreciate everyone for being here tonight. But David Alderson is here as the president of the Lubbock Economic Development Alliance, and LEDA is sponsoring this event along with Lubbock National Bank. And I thank you guys. I thank you for standing behind us. It's unfortunate tonight that the guy that will probably get the most awards, Gary Lawrence, is not here. Gary Lawrence is president of LEDA, and unfortunately is stuck in Brownwood, Texas, with a private pilot that wouldn't fly in here today because of the weather. So anyway, David is going to come up and get all Gary's awards. And thank you, LEDA, for all you've done for our program. It's incredible. James Arnold with Lubbock National Bank, thank you for your sponsorship and thank you for being here. Members of the Chancellor's Office, Jody Arrington and Russell Thomason, we appreciate them being here. Some of the guys from the past and people that helped us get started early in life, Dr. John Burns, the provost, in our first years here. And also Dr. Don Harrigan and his wife, Mrs. Harrigan, was president. And without these guys, we just wouldn't probably be here today. We have Jimmy Clark representing Congressman Nagelbauer's office. Jimmy, I saw you earlier. I'm kind of overwhelmed by all the people here. But we couldn't have a better friend than Congressman Nagelbauer. And even as I sit here today, we've got $2.5 million coming from the U.S. Army in the next couple of weeks. So what teamwork works together. Dr. Gary Dixon is here from Syngenta Crop Protection. He'll be a part of the, raise your hand, Gary. Syngenta is one of the top ag chemical firms in the world, and Gary barely made it in here today, but we've had a career together, and just real quick, I think we worked with, had grants from, interacted with Syngenta previously, Novartis previously, Sewagagi for 28 years. Now, isn't that something? 28 years. Boy, that's a long grant track record. Our mayor, David Miller, is here. Welcome, Mayor. I appreciate your support, and we look forward. The faculty and myself will be at City Hall Friday morning. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'll thank you for honoring us. I'm not aware too many times when the city honors an academic program, but when City Council and the Mayor's office wants to do that, we're going to be there. Dr. Ken Mortimer's here. He'll speak in a little bit, but a real special person. He's the Chancellor Emeritus of the University of Hawaii System. Raise your hand, Dr. Mortimer. He was kind of my first president a long time ago. I had black hair. I was a lot less stressed, and I was in Washington State and had a great big vision. And he was a guy that helped me in the early years and helped some of my faculty colleagues that go all the way back to Washington State. That's a long time. One of our very, very special guests is Dr. David Schmidley. And I don't know of anybody in the world that could have taught me to come in here except David Schmidley. But Dr. Schmidley is now the president of the University of New Mexico. And for those of you that don't know, it's the top 25 research university in the United States. This is big league. And I'm proud of him. Previously president of Oklahoma State University. And Colleen and I will never forget when Dave Schmidley came to Clemson. He came over to our house and had dinner and had a little cognac and talked about a vision. And here we are 10 years later, my dear friend. Regent Bob Stafford's here. Regent Stafford, thank you for being here from Texas Tech. Dean Jane Weiner, raise your hand. Dean Jane Weiner is a guardian angel. And I contribute so much of our success to her helping me with faculty development and support, and what a wonderful dean, and my best dean in my career. Provost Bill Marcy's here, and the provost has been critical to our program. We took a faculty picture. We have 200 people on the payroll, and Tammy James, my accountant, boy, she does a great job, keeps me clean with all audits. But a lot of people are on our payroll. And but the core faculty is really not that many. The tenure track faculty that sit at the table when I call a meeting, it's only 16 of us. And six of them are here because of Bill Marcy. And I appreciate that, Dr. Marcy. So we are a lean, mean, fighting machine. But we partner well, and we know how to get things done, and we generate a lot of money. Our Vice President of Research, Dean Smith's here, and his wife. Raise your hand. There you are. Thank you for coming. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. And I know people are still even arriving, but I thank you to come to have a party tonight, because, you know, when we did this 10 years ago, originally when Dr. Schmidley, and he'll tell you a little bit about it, he came to Clemson. I met him. I never met him before, but I knew of his reputation, and I knew of his scholarship. But he got off the airplane, and I picked him up. I didn't know what he looked like, but I knew who he was time he got off. And we went and talked and saw our buildings, saw our facilities. He spent the night. We had a great dinner. And we talked about a vision. And it's truly been a vision now that's unfolded. And I think it's been proven to be a great vision. And Chancellor Montford, Chancellor Emeritus Montford is not here yet. I had expected him, but who knows with the weather. But these guys were pretty awesome. And so we're going to talk about a lot of those things tonight. But as I was talking in the press conference this morning, which I still am overwhelmed, it's the best turnout we ever had, in spite of the weather. The program didn't just talk the talk, it walked it. And I'm proud of our faculty, and I'm proud of our students and staff and what we've been able to get done. So at this point, I want to move forward with the program and invite John Eisenhart, our student body president, to come forward and to award the TIEHH Student Association officers as well as the Toxicology Expo Awards, okay? John's a PhD student in our program.
Thank you, Dr. Kendall. I'd like to thank all TIEHH staff, the committee that put together this great event. Kendall Steaks for feeding us. The only time I get a meal like this is when my wife lets me eat like this. So, this is great. It's a great event. Like Dr. Kendall said, I'll start off by announcing the passing of the baton to the new 3 members of the student government for the next year, for 2007-2008. President will be Ms. Rachel McNew. You can go ahead and come up. Vice President will be Shauna Nations. And Treasurer will be Mr. Matt Mayer. So this is your 2007-2008 student government, and I'd like to thank Ms. Lee Xu in the back, and especially Rachel for all of their help this in the 2006-2007 year. It's been a great year. We've done I think we've done a lot of good things. We've had a lot of fun with the students, and hopefully next year can be even better. And hopefully I'll be missing half of next year, so graduating. So thank you again. Next, I'd like to move on to the Toxicology Expo Awards. As many of you know, we had the Toxicology Expo Day this afternoon, where 8 students / researchers / slaves gave some really good presentations on the research, and had a 12-minute presentation and 3 minutes to answer some questions, some really good questions. So I'd like to start off by just giving a certificate of merit to everyone. To start off, Arvind, go ahead and come on up. I won't even try and pronounce your name, your last name. Go ahead. I'll let you pronounce it for everyone. Rachel's right here. John Broush, Jordan Smith. Go ahead and stay there. Pamela Breyer, Rasish Shah, Renee Viñas, and Miss Shauna Nations. Just bear with us while we get everybody up here. And if everybody could, go ahead and give all these people a good hand. I'll start off with the judges felt they wanted to give 4 monetary awards. Oh, just let me say that the first prize place, the person will get $300, second place $200, and third place $100. That's how we've done it traditionally. This year, the judges felt that we needed to have an honorable mention, and this year that goes to Renee Venus. Third place goes to Miss Pamela Breyer. Second place to Rasish. And first place to future Dr. John Broush. And if we could give everybody one last applause, that'd be great. Thank you very much. And now I will be handing it over to Ms. Rachel McNew to hand out the Outstanding Faculty and Staff Awards.
Okay. Every year, the students vote by nomination who the outstanding faculty and staff will be. And I think we have some great winners this year. If you can come up when your name is called. Our outstanding staff for 2007 is Ms. Kimberly Pruitt. And our outstanding faculty for 2007 is Dr. Ernest Smith. One last applause for all the winners today.
One of the things that's real exciting is our students come from all over the world. They come from all over Texas, all over the United States, all over the world. But when they get with us and spend a little time with us, it doesn't matter where you come from. Your ideals and your perspective are to do good science with integrity and character, to work together as a team, do it honestly and accountable, and to be able to represent yourself in a way that's a problem solver versus a problem developer. And I can attest to you, after being in this business a long time, all of these students that were on this stage, they will make Texas Tech proud. They will be doctorates and masters out there in industry, government, and academia that we will all be proud of, and I guarantee you that. We've also become a very important doctoral and master's producer. Between just the spring semester here at the close and in August, we will produce 15 PhDs. That's a lot of PhDs. So anyway, a lot of people are moving forward. And a lot of people are moving forward here, and as we increase our effort to become a research flagship in the state of Texas, production of PhDs and grants are really critical, and the numbers with the Texas Commission of Higher Education. So anyway, we hope that we're contributing to that. Chancellor, is it time to announce you, or do I need to tell a joke or two? And I'm a terrible joke teller. You okay, or do I need to? I also, I was introducing all the special people out there, and I hope I don't miss anybody, but I do want to say thanks to my wife, Colleen. For those of you that don't know Colleen, boy, she's been a lot of help to me the last 10 years. And when Ronnie came here, raise your hand, Ronnie. He wasn't but 3 feet tall and 3 years old. A lot of you don't even recognize him, but anyway, he's grown up here at Tech. And Genevieve, raise your hand, Genevieve, will walk across the stage as a Texas Tech graduate in 2 days. And I'm real proud of her. She's done it 4 years on the button, and she's going on for her doctorate at UCLA. So I'm real proud of you, dear. At this point, it's my tremendous pleasure to introduce our Chancellor, Chancellor Ken Hance. Before becoming the third Chancellor of Texas Tech University, Mr. Hance was a partner in the Hance, Scarborough, Wright, and Austin and Dallas law firm, and we were real lucky to get him out of there. His firm's primary focus was on state and federal administrative law, regulatory law, and legislative law. In addition, he has worked extensively in the energy industry. Mr. Hans earned a degree from Texas Tech University and graduated from the University of Texas School of Law in 1968. He returned to Lubbock to practice law and teach business law at Texas Tech in 1973. In 1973, he was named the outstanding professor here at the university. So there's a great legacy of commitment here. He began his career in politics in 1974 when he won a seat in the Texas State Senate. While in the Senate, he was one of the only 4 members who served jointly on the Chamber's 2 most powerful committees, Finance and State Affairs, and we know that very well here. 4 years later, he won an election to the 19th Congressional District. In 1981, Mr. Hans authored and won passage of President Reagan's tax bill. While a member of Congress, Mr. Hans served in the Ways and Means Committee, the Agriculture Committee, and the Science and Technology Committee. It's been a real pleasure for me to get to know him. I knew that we were lucky to get him to come to Texas Tech, but I didn't know how lucky we were. Anyway, I thank him so much for being willing to be a part of our program tonight and to help be a part of this celebration. Mr. Hans, welcome as our Chancellor and as a friend of our program in this university.
Ron, thank you very much. The first thing I wanted to mention is that I didn't have anything to do with the seating arrangements. If I had, the one voting member of the Board of Regents would have been up closer to the front. I wanted to make sure Bob Stafford understood that. Somebody asked me, they said, how long is the Chancellor's job? I said, as long as I've got 5 out of 9 votes, I'll do whatever I want to. And I tell you, it's a lot of fun when I've got 9 out of 9. At least I did this morning. We'll see how it goes tomorrow morning. Appreciate the mayor being here. I was with the mayor last night. This will be 2 nights in a row that you've been to an open meeting, Mayor. And I'll make sure the Avalanche Journal reports that. You were at an open meeting and that everybody was given notice on that. By the way, there's a at 21st and Vicksburg, somebody's run over the stop sign. I'm serious. 21st and Vicksburg. I tell you, is he a man of action or what? You were getting up to call. I thought you were getting up to go over there. You know, when I was in Congress, I had a guy, Mr. Davis down in Lamesa, called me one time at home on the weekend. And you always like those calls. And he had a problem with sewage back up. And I'm listening and I'm thinking, I ran for U.S. Congress to handle this. And I said, I listened a while. I said, have you checked the mayor? And he said, no, I didn't want to go over your head. Brought me back to reality. We have John Monfort could not be here tonight. And Ron, he thinks the world of you and what this program's done, and something he started with David Smedley. I was appreciating Smedley being here tonight, and he's an old friend, long-standing. He grew up in Whitehall, Texas, and that makes Dimmitt seem real large. They used to play 6-man football, and I think they're playing 3-man football now. Be down to 1-man team. And you were kind of a 1-man team when you played over there. But Dimmitt and Whitehall have a lot in common. Dave, first time I ever met him, he said, well, I remember when you played football, and I remember when you played basketball for Dimmitt. And I said, really? And I thought maybe he'd remember some of my plays. And he said, no, you were the skinny kid that brought the ball down the court and gave it to Junior Coffee and got out of his way. That's exactly right. I had my wife Susie Reddy from Houston, and she's first time she went to Dimmitt, and she said, you keep telling these stories on me, I'm going to ask for equal time. I told her the elevators, the silo, I said, those are apartments, they just don't have any windows. I don't believe that. I started taking her to the pool hall. The pool hall in Dimmitt, Bernie Mittermeier's favorite story. I went to the pool hall in Dimmitt one time. You're thinking, what does this have to do with Ty? It doesn't have a lot to do with it, but it's a great story. I go in the pool hall, and I had there are 3 guys there playing dominoes. They were playing moon. If you only have three, you got to play moon. And in the fourth chair, there was a dog sitting there. And so just to make conversation, I said, Billy, does that dog play? And he said, yeah, but he ain't no good. And I said, why? And he said, because every time he gets a good hand, he starts wagging his tail. I always liked that. I don't know why, but last night I told one story. My wife said, I hadn't heard that one. You know, like, I've known you for a long time. And I hadn't heard that one. But I had, you know, when you're young, and your son's about that age, but I was, what grade are you in, young man? Seventh. I liked the seventh grade. I mean, I was there 3 years. Met a lot of nice people. Be a new group come in every year. Well, after about the seventh or eighth grade, and I went home with these friends of mine. And if you were there last night, you heard this, so just hold your laughter till I get through. But they were twins. They were named Freddie Jack and Teddy Mack, the Thompson twins. And we went home. I went home with them after church, and Mrs. Thompson said, boys, I didn't see y'all in church. We said, well, we were there. Y'all didn't cut church, did you? Oh, no. And she said, we were at the back. She said, I looked at the back. And we said, we were there. She said, well, I didn't see you. And she said, what did the preacher preach on? And Jack said, a sin. And he was out there, you know. But Mac really helped us out. He jumped in there and he said, he's really against it too. You imagine that, First Baptist Church in Denver, Texas, the preacher came out against sin and really against it. Now, Monford would have had some stories here to tell. He would have told the same old stories he's been telling for years. He tells that deal about Hans bought a waterbed and he called it the Sea of Love. His wife called it the Dead Sea. I mean, hey, how many of you ever heard him tell it? He tell that all the time. I said, Monford, you've got to get some new material. And he does respect what you've done, and he's very proud of you. So the next person that I'm going to introduce, or the first person I'm going to introduce, Dr. Ken Mortimer, who's a Chancellor Emeritus, which means that he didn't keep 5 votes out of 9. I had to say that. It seemed clever at the time, Dr. Mortimer, and I apologize. I couldn't let that one pass. And he was president of Western Washington University, and that's where the two of y'all met. And as Chancellor of the Hawaii system, that is a big job indeed. And we appreciate the fact that Dean Smith is one of our guys from Hawaii and is here tonight. But we appreciate your coming and being here, and we'd like for you to come forward and say a few words. Dr. Mortimer.
Well, he's got a Regents meeting in the morning. He won't be so happy tomorrow. I'm delighted to be here. I guess I represent history for the Institute. I arrived at Western Washington University in 1993, and I've been a vice president of Penn State. And I was looking to talk to, when I was president-elect, you can appreciate this, David, want to meet some leading faculty. Want to know what's going on at this place. They set me up at dinner with Ron Kendall and a few other boys at the old Fairhaven restaurant. He started talking, monopolized the conversation about this vision he had. And, I told you this many years ago. He's not a guy you want to go fishing with. He's not a guy you want to go to dinner with because all he can talk about is this vision, this vision, this vision. We had a good time talking about that, and I learned that Ron Kendall was a man of substance. So I was asking his friend, Robert Bruce. You all know Robert. He's a good friend of the Institute and helped build that building over there. And I said, Robert, my job as president is get along with the leading faculty members. I need to know how to get on Kendall's good side. Don't worry, he's very easy. When you go to see him, just make sure you kiss his ring. Well, I was new to the president game, and I didn't know enough about that. And I figured, well, if that's what the really good guys need, that's what I'm going to do. And that's how I found out he kept his ring in his back pocket. So you got to watch it. Well, we got along fine. Went fishing a couple of times and went to that farm in Iowa. And what Ron was saying earlier tonight, although the Institute's been here for 10 years, it's really 28 years old. And it had a great start at Western, but I told him he had to leave Western because that vision couldn't flourish in a regional institution with only master's degrees. Needed access to graduate students, needed to know an institution that knew what big-time research was all about. To Ron's credit, he said, well, I can't leave you. You're a new president. I don't want to be the first thing I do is to get out of here. And I said, but you got to go somewhere else where you can achieve this vision. Because I knew they could do it. Now, if Robert were here, I'd say the brains behind the outfit has been Robert Bruce. Now, therein lies the rub, as I said. But Robert's been with them all that time. Ron and Robert talk every day on the phone about these issues, and Robert's been one of the financial reasons that the Institute has been so successful. You can't talk about the Institute if you don't acknowledge Robert's contribution. And I understand that there's a plaque in the building. Robert's never been in the building to see the plaque. But that's a very important part of the Institute's history. So it wasn't the place. Western was not the place. He went to Clemson, and 5 or 7 years later, I get a call from Dave Schmidtly. What do you know about Ron Kendall? I said, you don't want to go fishing with him? What else do you know? He says, well, he says he knows you. Yeah, I know him. I don't admit it often in public, but I do know him, and don't go fishing with him. But what I was able to say is he's an honorable man, he's a committed man, and he doesn't want to be a vice president. He wants to run the Institute. He wants to solve or make a contribution to the major environmental issues. In those days it was wildlife, and it's brought into environmental and human health now. He wants to make a contribution to the environment. He's an avid fisherman. Honey, you go to Ron's house and he'll give you a frozen pheasant out of his freezer. Still got the feet on it. So I told you, Dave, you're not going to go wrong. Ron Kendall. Especially if it brings Robert along, because Robert's got all the money. About 2 years ago, I guess it was, Robert Bruce calls me and says, what do you know about Dean Smith? And I said, well, Dean worked for me in Hawaii for a long time. I think very highly of him. He says, well, Kendall's on the search committee, and he's one of the finalists. And I said, tell him he's a good man. Ron never called me because he needed plausible deniability. I think that's what it's called in our business, isn't it? Plausible deniability. So we're delighted to be here, Kay and I. Kay, my wife, Kay Nichols with me tonight, she's raised in Sunray, Texas. And the family farm is there, and her father was on the board of a lot of these local institutions. The Christian college, a local college, her father was on the board. So we've got family here in Texas, and I've just come back and visit to the Alamo, and I'm getting oriented to the Texas environment. So it was a great opportunity for me to come down and say hello to Ron and remind you all about the great success he's had for the last 10 years. It's been a long time, almost 30-year commitment. And those of us in higher ed know that these things take a lot of time. You invest in people like Ron Kendall, and if you do it wisely, they really pay off. I'm delighted to be here with you, Ron. I'm glad to see your success, and I'm glad to see that the people in this community know just what Ron Kendall is doing and means. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ken. You did an outstanding job. The next person on the program really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. Dave Smedley, as I mentioned earlier, is a good friend of mine and a great guy. He got his bachelor's and master's here before he left to go get a PhD, but he found his way back to Texas Tech. Went through A&M along the way and was head of their president of the Galveston campus. Served as president here. Before that was vice president of research. Then he went to Oklahoma State, served as president there, and now he's at University of New Mexico. And I mentioned this story of New Mexico. You know, just brought up another story to think about that. The governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson's a good friend of mine. We served in Congress together. In fact, you know, I tell people if you vote in the Democratic primary, he's a good guy for president, and that's the only political announcement I'll make tonight. And he has a great sense of humor, and we went to a football game together, and it was me and the governor, and Susie, and the security people, and we were seated in the bleachers. And I said, Governor, I wish you were Republican because we'd be at the press box. Sitting out here at the folks, you know, in the bleachers. And he laughed and everything. And he's always good on his feet. He thinks quickly. A guy comes down the road. So I said, Susie and I stand up to let him by. And he went, no, I just need to talk to the governor. I mean, the football game's going on. And so we sit down, and the guy puts his hand on my knee. And he's leaning over talking to the governor, and his rear right at Susie, you know, we're just going, golly. And he tells the governor, I want to be on the tourism board. Governor, I'll be good on the tourism board. I'll get more tourists coming here. And, you know, he just went on and on. People behind him was getting mad, and I was elbowing Richardson, you need to get rid of this guy. And finally, the governor said, I'm going to appoint you. I promise you I'll appoint you. And he said, thank you, and he left. I said, who was that? And he said, hell, I don't know. I love that. You know, the nut showed up, and the governor got rid of the nut. You know, and he did it in a way. You know, Smedley had a prior engagement tonight. He and Bob Knight were originally scheduled to speak at an appreciation banquet for David Smith, and they if you're new, that's probably not funny, but if you're not, that's real funny. And I do want to remind Smedley that I'll be up again after he gets up. But no one worked harder for Texas Tech and has been a better supporter and spokesman for Texas Tech than David Smedley. And I like the fact that we have a Texas Tech graduate that served as president of other institutions. Our friend and Ron's friend, Dave Smedley.
Wow, well, it's great to be home again. Let me tell you that. I was flying in and I looked down over Lubbock and I saw all this water and green and everything, and I thought I'd call Coach Knight to see if we could hunt alligators. Because I've never seen Lubbock look so beautiful. It's just spectacular. It's great to be here, and especially on this occasion. You know, when you're an administrator, I call a lot of it just administrative. It's just doing things that have to be done. But there are opportunities when people come together and you can do some special things that have real value. So, to the mic.
There we go. That's the Wood Herald in me. See, we never had an audience like this at Wood Herald. Okay, I mean, you know, if you got 3 or 4 people there, that was a big night. That's why I was such a star over there, Kent. You know, that didn't have much competition. But it's just really special when people can come together, create a vision, and achieve it. Now, I came to Texas Tech in 1996. I was recruited by my good friend John Burns over here. He was provost. And John said, Dave, we really want to get research and graduate education started. So I came here and I had the great pleasure to work with Bob Swayze. Bob, where are you? And Bob and I we spent a lot of time together talking about how to do this. okay? And so we decided we were going to try to hit a home run. And to hit a home run, we were going to try to make a big splash and go out and get a big program and move it to Texas Tech. Now, there's a fancy term for that today. It's called a cluster hire. But one of the first cluster hires in the United States was made right here at Texas Tech in 1997 when we picked up this entire institute. I mean, lock, stock, and barrel, faculty, students, everything, and moved it to Texas Tech. Now, to do that, we had to have some help. First of all, we had to have some money. I mean, you don't move 10, 12, 40 people like we did without money. And that's where Don Harrigan stepped in. Don was the president of the university, and Don was really good at rat-holing money. And he told me, he said, Dave, I got some money rat-holing. And I said, boy, this is just the kind of president you want to work for. Somebody that rat-holes money and tells you about it. And Don ponied up the money to hire these guys, okay? And so that was the second step. Well, we had to have a place to put them. And we didn't have it on the campus. We didn't have any space. And about that time, Reese had closed. And we thought, God, what a great opportunity. If we could put something at Reese that would be a catalyst, that would help that thing kick off and really grow and develop. And then two key people came forward. One was John Montford. John worked with Senator Duncan. And we got a very large state appropriation. And then we had a great team of lobbyists that Bob Swayze had identified in Washington, D.C., led by Vince Versage and the late Frank Godfrey. And they worked very hard to get some federal appropriations in here, and they were successful in doing that. And then Delbert McDougall was in charge of that Reese redevelopment activity. And Delbert helped us get our hands on the best building out there. And thanks to Robert and everyone else, we were able to put this program together. And literally, we were able to gather together about $22 million to renovate that facility. And so then we had that step done. But we still had to have someone we could hire. So that's how the phone call started, Ken. And it started, I got on to Ron through a friend named Tom Locker. Flash, as I call it. Flash is now the head of the Wildlife and Fishery Sciences Department at Texas A&M. But I was visiting with Tom about this vision for creating an institute like this, and he said, you need Ron Kendall. There is your man. So that's when the phone call started. Well, why the environment? Why did we hit on this idea? Okay. Well, at that time, when we were talking about this, Texas was the third most polluted state in the United States. Maybe number one now, I don't know, with this Republican governor. I don't know. But at that time, it was number 3. Okay? And I knew that Texas A&M wouldn't tackle this big, broad environmental issue because it would create too much difficulty with the commodity groups in agriculture. And I knew the University of Texas wasn't going to do it because it wasn't basic enough in terms of their research portfolio. And I felt it was just a perfect niche for Texas Tech. So Bob Swayze and I set about hatching this plan. John Burns was involved, Don Harrigan was involved, John Montford was involved. And then the most important thing of all was a bottle of Russian cognac. Because I called Ron on the phone and said, Ron, I'm coming to Clemson to see you. And he said, who are you? And I told him who I was. And he said, well, I don't want to talk to you. And I said, well, you're going to. And so I did. He said, well, don't come until after 5 o'clock because I don't want anybody to see you. So I did. I landed and I drove a car and I drove around Clemson and I showed up at that facility of yours after 5 o'clock, right? And we went to his house and we had dinner. Colleen cooked a marvelous meal. Ronnie, I think you were about 2 years old. I ended up spending the night because I couldn't drive anywhere after drinking a bottle of Russian cognac. But we hatched this vision, and the idea was to do something special that would put Texas Tech on the map, that would involve students and education of students. And I think you saw the results of that tonight. These young people that are the product of this institute are really marvelous. What impresses me is you have 100% employment of these young people in the profession in which they're educated. And then the other thing, I hadn't been to Lubbock now. It's been, let's see, the last time I was here, we got our lunch handed to us out at Jones Stadium. The Raiders beat up on the Cowboys pretty good. But it's really impressed me to see the growth in Lubbock on this side of town. What's happened out at Reese has had a lot to do with that. And what has happened at this institute has had a big impact on economic development in this community. And you're seeing that all around the country now. Where you find knowledge-generated economic activity, you tend to create the kind of jobs that bring the kind of people to a community that really add value to it. And you've seen that here, and that's a wonderful legacy to celebrate this evening as well. It's not just the scientific accomplishments, but I think it's also the economic development accomplishments. So, I've been really fortunate in my life. I've had a run in administration for 16 years or so, been president soon to be of 3 institutions. But I think when I look back on my career and I say, what things have you done that have really made a difference? I think this idea that we hatched to go get this guy has made a difference. But it could not have been done without good teamwork. And we had a great team when I was here on the administration of Texas Tech. And it was a fun place to work. And I enjoyed every minute of it. And Ron, I'm very proud of you. And I'm proud to be a West Texan. And Ken, I'm so proud that you are now in charge of Texas Tech. God knows it needed to be handed back to a Texan. And a West Texan, and please don't take the cotton bowls off that symbol, will you not, please? Yeah, I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell a little story here too. I just lost my stepfather 2 months ago. He was a great man. His name was Buck Gregory. I loved him immensely. And Buck was he was a fighter pilot in World War II. He was an ace. And he was in the Battle of Midway. He was in most of those battles. He was one of the guys that landed his plane on that aircraft carrier when they turned the lights out, because they had to avoid the Japanese submarines. It took a lot to get Buck Gregory excited. Okay, I never saw the man get excited until the night he called me and he was hyperventilating, and he said, "Dave, they're going to take the cotton bowls off the seal." And I thought, this is the end. And I'm glad the cotton balls are on there, or cotton bowls. That's so important to this country out here. And I'm reading a book now called The Worst Hard Time. It's about the Dust Bowl out here. And you read that book and you'll understand why West Texas has produced the kind of people it has, and you'll understand why Texas Tech is the kind of institution it is. So Ron, I want to celebrate with you tonight. Come on up here, I got a little gift for you. I tried really hard, Ron, to get Russian cognac, but I couldn't. But there's a good bottle of cognac. Thanks for 10 great years, I'm proud of you, and thanks for inviting me back.
I told him, don't open that yet. We'll be here all night. We're going to spend the night. Oh, Kegels. At this time, I'm going to, we've got several things. One is the introduction of Dr. Gary Dixon, who's going to present the Outstanding Graduate Student Award. Dr. Dixon is the Global Risk Assessment Vice President for Syngenta Crop Protection. And we appreciate your coming and helping with presenting this award, and also to just say a few things about Ty and also about Ron. So, Dr. Dixon, there you go.
Okay, my goodness, there's a lot of people. How's everybody doing back there? All right, good. I got kind of excited. I'm from North Carolina, and I heard the name Dean Smith, and boy, my ears perked up, but obviously I have the wrong Dean Smith. I've had the pleasure of flying into Lubbock probably 6 or 7 times over the last years, and I have a knack. And the knack is that I always am able to pick up thunderstorms in Houston, or wind in Lubbock, or storms, hail, whatever. Today was no exception. The pilot got on and indicated that we weren't quite going to beat that storm in the Lubbock. And I was just kind of tickled because one time I came in, I talked to Ron about the flight, and Ron said, "Gary, it's not windy in Lubbock, there's no wind." And I said, "Well, Ron, as we were coming in the approach and we had a 50-mile-an-hour crosswind on the runway and the tumbleweed was up about 50 feet off the ground." Come on. I promised that I would tell a story about how I got to know Ron. And actually, we crossed paths before we even knew each other. And it was about 27 years ago or so. And Ken, I'm sorry, but Ron, when he was at Western Washington, applied for a job. We both applied for a job at a company called Ciba-Geigy in Greensboro. And at that time, Ron was a bright young assistant professor at Western Washington. And I was a starving young PhD. I was working at EPA in Washington. I think I was making $17,000 a year at that point, and that wasn't going to cut it. So we both applied for this job and interviewed there. I think I interviewed the week after Ron did, and the company made a big mistake. The company made a big mistake because it didn't hire Ron. It hired me. So it's been wonderful for me. I've stayed there through 2 mergers, and it's been a great career. And lucky for us, they didn't hire Ron, because he went back to Western Washington and he started the first of 3 academic research institutes. And I'll tell you, he saved the best for here. I mean, it's truly, truly a world-class institute. And I want to congratulate the faculty, staff, administration, and students because it really shows. I mean, you may not see it like we see it, but over the years, I've hired 4 people out of Ron's programs, and if I have anything to do, we'll hire some more. Okay, let me get on with the awards. Syngenta has been proud to be associated with TIEHH now for the last 6 or 7 years, and what we've done is tried to set up a program where we can award excellence. And with this program, it's a monetary award and also travel costs to a scientific meeting. And each year, students are able to apply for the award. The faculty are going through the applications and then deciding who would be worthy of that at each time. So let me start off. We have 2 awards, one for the outstanding master's student and one for the outstanding PhD student. And for the outstanding master's student, it's Renee Vignes, please. Now let me just say a couple of words as Renee comes up. As a master's student, he's already submitted 2 manuscripts for publication in scientific journals. He has been awarded the Colgate-Palmolive Society of Toxicology Award, and he is awarded a position in an NIH-sponsored human embryonic stem cell toolbox workshop that will be coming up. So please, again. Okay, for the outstanding PhD student, Xiaoping Pan. Coming up, let me just say a couple things. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. 19 total publications during the time period of this award. Fantastic. 7 of those as first author. The 2007 Horn Professor's Graduate Achievement Award. The 2006 Graduate Student Paper Award from the American Chemical Society. And awarded the Cash Family Endowed Fellowship. Fantastic.
One of the dangers of inviting old friends is they can tell a lot of stories on you, but thank you guys. I'm glad to see all of you here. You know, it's just such a special time. It's so hard to get together, but to bring this group together is really special to me, and what a special night. I'll never forget it. But looking back, we just felt it appropriate to do something a little more than just say thanks for coming for some of you. And as Dr. Schmidley mentioned in his talk, as we began this institute, there were 4 people that I primarily went to make it work. And there was no blueprint. It was all design, build, concept. But we had a vision. And I would regard these 4 individuals as the founders of our institute. And I wanted to have something for them to take home and remember us, because we will never forget them. Unfortunately, Mr. Montford couldn't be with us tonight, but Dr. Schmidley, could you come forward? And Dr. John Burns, who was the provost in those early years, and Dr. Don Harrigan, who was our president. Mr. Hans will present the awards, which I think are really pretty, and I thank our staff for getting those together. But
The one that says Dave Smith is the one that... I asked him which one. He said the one that says Dave Smith.
Dr. Harrigan? Come stand in the middle. Let's go.
You have any cognac?
I will share my cognac with you. Get in the middle. Let him hold his award.
All right.
And then Dr. John Burns, he was our provost. Thank you a lot. These guys, I mean, I can't say enough of what they meant to us when we were trying to get started, because it was a pretty scary thing when they took me before the Board of Regents and said we were going to build a world-class program. That's a big mouthful. Now we're here today. Next, there's some special people that are our friends. And one of the things that we do is value our friends from the beginning to now. And there's several people that I would like to come forward and receive a memento of our friendship. Gary Lawrence is not here, but David Alderson is, I'm sorry Gary couldn't be here tonight. I know he's sick about it, but David Alderson is going to represent Gary. Dean Jane Weiner. And Dean Weiner is the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Provost Bill Marcy, to whom I report, and Dr. Gary Dixon.
middle market.
This will be in our newsletter.
Like Gary Dixon was telling you, he's really been involved with this program since the very beginning. In fact, my first research grant was from Sibagagi, Gary. And that was in the days when Reagan was president and budget cuts were occurring, and I was starting my career in 1980, and those were hard days to get grants. And Sibagagi he would send people to Bellingham, Washington to visit me, and I'd take him out to Vancouver, British Columbia, just across the border. Remember Rich Honeycutt? One of his scientists loved to go out and dance in Vancouver. And so I'd just go take him to a dance hall, let him dance, and sit there and watch him. I said, if it turns into a research grant, we'll make it work. And that's the truth, Gary. And Gary has supported this program since absolutely the very beginning. So I hadn't been... And he's been through like 3 or 4 company changes. I keep asking him, what's the next company you're going to join? Retirement. The retirement company.
One thing I did want to clarify, I did help Reagan on a big Reagan thing, and the only thing we cut was fraud and abuse. That didn't affect me.
Well, anyway, I sure appreciate Steve Gagan's support. I'll never forget that first $2,000 grant. I mean, that meant the world to me. That was the difference between starving and having a chance. So anyway, Gary, thanks again. We have created, I don't know if you saw in the front, so many people came in, but we have a Citizens Advisory Council and a Science Advisory Board. And so Gary Dixon heads our Science Advisory Board, and they meet and review our program, and I think got us ready for a lot of our challenges. But we also have a Citizens Advisory Council. And this has been a wonderful group that I've come to really love because they've helped communicate what we're all about. Years ago, there was all kinds of theories about what was going on out at Reese Technology Center, from Ebola out there to whatever. And I got a little worried about that because we had enough problems just trying to get it going out there, much less having people thinking we were handling things that were extraordinary. So we created a Citizens Advisory Council, and from the very beginning, Gary Lawrence chaired that. I mean, from the very beginning. And this group, many of them are here tonight. I'm going to ask them to come forward. Have stuck by me and our faculty through thick and thin, high and low, for almost 10 years. And so these are my friends, and I want to acknowledge them. We have some mementos for you, but I'd like for you to come forward, and I'd like to introduce you when you come forward to make sure I got a good head count. So members of our Citizens Advisory Council, would you please come forward? And if you would come up on the stage, I'd like to introduce everyone. This is Mrs. Nancy Neal. She's incredibly important to us and a member of the Texas Commission on Higher Education. And we give her a vote. Kay Hinches with the TTUHSC, and she's been with us from the very beginning and been incredibly loyal. And thank you, Kay. And this is Mr. Jay Crowfoot, my buddy, my friend, Crowfoot Cattle Company, and a guy that's helped us in so many ways communicate our program. And I just want to say that if you look at our timelines over here, one of our most important visitors was Bob Knight. The day Bob Knight came, the faculty just loved it. Everybody had their picture taken with Coach Knight, and Mr. Crowfoot was right there through all of it. So anyway, Bob Knight is a friend of the Institutes, and we appreciate that. Mr. Alan Henry's with Alan Henry Insurance in town. He's our past mayor. And I tell you, I can always count on Mr. Henry to be there to support me. I don't care when we have a press conference or whatever. And I always appreciate you and Mrs. Henry. And I thank you. And Mr. Henry's son, Ryan Henry, is now with the national group and is helping us here at Texas Tech and is helping us in our program. This is my friend and co-coach, James Arnold, Vice President of Lubbock National Bank. When you share a dugout together with a bunch of kids playing baseball, you understand what friendship's all about. I'll never forget the days I said, James, what did we do? Don't ask me, just go to the mound and make sure the pitcher's pitching. But anyway, Lubbock National Bank supports us constantly, and I thank you for that. And James, I appreciate our friendship. Okay. And this is Mr. Delbert McDougall. All of you know him. He has a statue downtown. And you know what? The day I went and saw that statue, I said to myself, that statue's even bigger than I could have imagined. Delbert McDougall is my friend. And he's been a guy that has helped us out at Reese Technology Center and has helped us in so many ways. He's taken his time, personal time, to go and do things on our behalf. And you're so busy, I can't believe it, but you always had time for me. If I call up there, he can speak with me. I thank you, Delbert. Mr. McDougall, I appreciate you and I respect you. Yes, sir. Several of our other members couldn't be here tonight. I want to say their names. Jim Louder, here in town. Jim's great. He's sick. He called me last night. He's got fever. He's not doing well. Eddie McBride. Eddie's been wonderful to us. And in fact, Eddie used to be the manager there at Reese when I first got there. And if it wasn't for Eddie, we wouldn't have had as good a furniture as we've got today. And Fred Underwood. Fred was out of town. Sent a message. But Fred's been terrific with the Trinity Company. But these are people that have supported us through absolute thick and thin. But I also wanted to do something a little extra special for a few people. I'd like Ms. Nancy Neal to come forward. And Gary Dixon and Dave Alston representing Gary Lawrence. You know, you can have friends, and we've had so many friends. That's one of the best parts of Lubbock to me, because when I was at Clemson, I knew who the mayor was, but they never had anything to do with us. I mean, it was kind of like two different institutions, the university and the city. But here, I feel like I've got it's an incredible amount of friends in the town, and so on. It's been amazing how the people have embraced us in my faculty. And I've gotten to know these people to the point where Colleen and I do love Lubbock, and have loved what Lubbock represented to our program, because when we all came out here, I don't know if you've been to Clemson, but they got great big trees. And I mean, you can't get your arms around them. And when we came out here and there were no trees, I was a little worried at first. But the people embraced us. And I mean, I love you guys. And so, but these, Gary Lawrence and Nancy Neal and Gary Dixon have been people that I've gone to consistently. Nancy's incredible. And I tell you what, this lady amazes me, and she gets things done. You're talking about a can-do person. Every time I think of a can-do person, I think of Nancy Neal. And I'm so glad you're on the Texas Commission on Higher Education, because I hope those guys are getting their job done. I'm sure you'll make them. And but anyway, Mrs. Neal has been there for me and our activities wherever, whenever, whatever. The staff and I we were talking about what we would do for her, and I said, I want to give her a dozen red roses. And they said, how about colored roses or what, yellow or what? I said, no, we love Nancy Neal. And so, Chancellor, those are Nancy's dozen red roses. And they reflect how this institute loves this lady. Now, my friend Gary Dixon, I tell you what, he operates between Switzerland, New York. God, they've moved you all over the place. Yeah. England. Yep. Gary's in a plane more than he is on the ground. And he drives a Porsche. He's got a big league job. I mean, this guy, you're talking about, he just bought him a new Porsche car. He just told me today.
I'm sorry, Colin.
And, so he's going to be doing some racing with it. So I hadn't had my midlife crisis. He has. But anyway, this guy, I watched this guy just go rocket up. And a real diplomat and leader. And he's certainly been a tremendous ambassador as chairman of our Science Advisory Board. But anyway, he's a real wine connoisseur. I mean, this guy knows wines like you won't believe. But anyway, Gary, as I speak, a case of Llano Este Cardinal award-winning Chardonnay is on the way to your home in North Carolina. Okay? Now, Gary, thank you. Now, the guy, I tell you, from the day I walked into this town, I don't know, Gary Lawrence just said, "I will be your friend, I'm going to help you." And I mean, this guy has been amazing. We talk all the time, and he's talking to me about economic development. I tell you what, Lubbock Economic Development is in good hands with people like David Alderson, you're the chairman, right?
That's it.
And then Gary's president.
That's right.
Okay.
He does everything.
Okay.
I keep us out of trouble.
Got it. But anyway, when Gary was sick about not getting back here today, but anyway, he's been a real go-to guy. And, you know, I was telling Chancellor, we had lunch the other day, and I mean, we were talking about building a biological safety level 4 facility several years ago. And I mean, Gary Lawrence says, "By God, let's go get it done." Remember that, David? And so Gary just goes and hires a jet, puts 10 people on it, and flies to Winnipeg, Manitoba to see the finest facility in the world. I mean, he didn't even hesitate. And so that's the kind of guy he is. And I'm just sick he's not here because he's got such a special gift. And Rachel, do you have the gift? Rachel is one of Gary's favorite people. Where is the gift, Rachel? But we're gonna give it to Mr. Alderson. Okay, here, I want to show it to everybody. Gary is a real wildlife outdoors guy. And this is a really special picture. And matter of fact, it's fantastic. And if you go in Gary's office at Leda, he's got a picture of a West Texas scene with a windmill with quail in it. Gary loves the outdoors and his ranch, and he's taught me a lot about West Texas. But anyway, he's got his quail and it's sitting there, so I said, well, he needs a picture with a big white-tailed buck in it to complement his quail. So anyway, we got this frame for him, and not only is it magnificent, but the colors and the clouds will change throughout the day to set the stage for the tranquility and the peace that he enjoys in the outdoors. This is from my special friend Gary Lawrence, and Mr. Alderson will take care of it for me. Don't take it home and put it up on your wall. But anyway, Gary Lawrence, we thank you, and sorry you couldn't be here tonight. Chancellor, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm not near the storyteller as you are, and thank you for being here to help us tonight.
Thank you. Congratulations. Oh, not so fast. We're not through.
Dr. Kendall and I and Rachel and several staff members were sitting in the big conference hall one day, and Dr. Kendall was talking about all these awards that all these people were going to receive, and I said, "What do you get? What do you get, Dr. Kendall?" And you might not get the warm, fuzzy feeling as you will with the cognac. But we wanted to do just a little something as a token of our appreciation for all that you've done for the Institute. So
what we've done as students, all together, we went out one day and took a student picture of all the students, and most of us are wearing our tie shirts, out on the golf course, and we just want to thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, guys. I mean, I say it all the time, our students are our blue ribbon product. You will make us proud. Thank you.
Ron Kendall, you make us all proud, and we're proud of Ty, we're proud of you. Gary, on the wine that he sent you, it's a personal deal that he did, and the tops are screw-on tops. And I saw him ship it off, and it's not, that's kind of like, it's Thunderbird. But you'll enjoy it. So think of us, and maybe give us another grant. Thank you very much. This has been a fun evening. We appreciate what Ty does, not only for this community, but for the entire world. We appreciate your dedication, and I'm glad to be a part of Texas Tech and the outstanding people in Lubbock, Texas. Thank you. We're adjourned.